Welcome back to Tech and Potatoes. On today's show, we're going to talk about cutting the cord. That's right, we're going to talk about getting rid of your cable and satellite provider for good. What's the best options out there, streaming devices, antennas, how to do it, things to consider. It's all coming up next.
Hello, welcome back to Tech and Potatoes. Today we're going to talk about cord cutting. I know everybody's out there trying to find a way to save a little money, especially the way the economy is. And one way to do that is to cut your cable and satellite bill. Cable and satellite companies have been charging outrageous prices for a long time. And every time you look up, they got another fee or another service charge they want to add to your bill. And you get that little promotion that says, hey, come with us, pay $45 a month. You get all this stuff included. And then when you look at your bill, you're paying about $100 instead of $45 because they charge you all these fees and regulations. So today we're going to talk with Chris about how he set up his house to be able to cut the cord and go with over-the-air antenna. And there's a few apps and services through the internet that you can use that help you get through all of those different things.
Yeah, that's right. The expression cut the cord is kind of funny because there still is a cord. It's called the internet. And that's the one thing that we never get rid of because that enables everything. So Sam, you mean you pay for cable or satellite? What's the deal? I know I don't. What about you?
Yes, currently I do pay for satellite and internet service. Like a lot of people out there, I am a football fan that's out of his city, so it's hard to get the local games. Like I'm a Saints fan and I can't get Saints games a lot of times because I live in Texas, so I gotta either watch the Texans or the Cowboys. And if you know anything about Saints fans, we can't stand either one of those teams, so I have to pay a little extra money to get the games through NFL Sunday Ticket. But I mean, there's other options out there, and that's one of the biggest problems right now. Sports is one of the big issues with cutting the cord because if you are a sports fan, it's very hard to get the teams and the sports you want. But we'll talk about that more later. Chris, you went through the process of cutting the cord. Can you tell us more about how that experience has been? Have you missed anything that you don't get right now that you got with your DirecTV service? Or is there anything you wish that you still can get? I mean, tell us a little more.
Well, I've had DirecTV for many, many, many years, at least 15 years or so. And I've actually had DirecTV with all the movie channels, the full package. And as I've, gotten older and life has happened, I've realized, that's crazy. I don't need all that stuff. I've really started paying attention to what I watch. And I don't need to have channels and services that I don't use. It doesn't make sense. So I really analyzed what TV shows I watched, along with myself and my wife. We really took a look at our viewing habits, and we realized we don't need all the stuff that we have. So that became the first step. Was viewing, paying attention to what do you have, and what programs do you watch. So eliminating those services was fairly easy. Called DirecTV, and I said, hey, I wanted to cancel that service. But we talked about the sports thing. I actually did that after football was over. So
yeah, I was about to mention that you did cut the cord, but it was after the football season was over.
Yeah, we did that in about January, and that was on purpose. So I don't know. I know you have DirecTV, and you're gonna get the Sunday Ticket. So I plan on coming by your house and watching the Sunday Ticket. But I know that you have plans on cutting the cord as well. So we'll have to figure out something to resolve that problem in a year when you cancel the cord. Cut the cord rather. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting future. But honestly, after this time, it's been several months, I'm willing to, I don't know. I don't know what I don't really want to get satellite or cable service again, especially just for a football team. And I love football. But I'll figure out a resolution. If I have to go to a sports bar or go to a friend's house or something, I'll find a way. Or get that program that they have with the NFL where you can watch the games the next day. I know that sounds crazy, but I really don't want to pay outrageous cable or satellite bills again.
And I have cut the cord in the past. About 5 years ago, I did experiment with cutting the cord. And I remember I didn't have many issues or problems because I'm pretty good at navigating the internet and finding the shows that I like and finding stuff to watch. And the only reason I did get satellite again was because actually I was starting to date this lady, and I didn't want her to think I was not normal for not having cable.
Okay.
It's funny the things you do when you meet somebody, you're trying to look normal, but having cable is really not normal. I mean, there's other options out there, and I think we forget. You grow up with cable, you grow up with satellite, you think that's just normal, but really it's not. There's
you're just doing what,
there.
My parents, exactly. Sorry to cut you off there, but my parents had satellite, so when I moved out on my own, I got satellite. So, I mean, it's just like you're just following these patterns of things that and you're just going through the motions, but you really need to take the time and analyze what are you doing, what are you watching, what do you need, and it's definitely something to pay attention to. But you mentioned cutting the cord, and something that I would say as a first step is to, before you go out there and say, hey, DirecTV, hey, Comcast, Time Warner, I don't need your service anymore, you need to pretend that you don't have it. Don't get rid of it right away. You may not be able to handle it. Honestly, it is a change. There are adjustments you'll have to make. You'll have to not watch shows live. There won't be... you can get a DVR, but we'll talk about that later. There's things to consider. So pretend that you don't have the service at first. Don't go canceling it right away. And if you pretend and you get used to it for a while and you think you're ready to do it, then go ahead and do it. But definitely don't just run out and say, hey, I'm done with you, cable provider, satellite provider. I'm ready to move on. It's not quite that simple. There's a lot of things to consider.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider, and plus, I mean, it's easier than ever today to cut the cord because you have so many great options out there. You have your Netflix, your Hulu, and there's the Sling app, and there's different other apps out there. Even HBO to go or HBO Go is an option for you today where you didn't have that in the past. I mean, if you can get a good internet signal or service to your house, I mean, you're pretty well set up depending on your viewing habits. I know for me, as I've analyzed and looked at what I've watched over the last couple of weeks, I hardly ever turn on the DirecTV. I'm always either watching YouTube or Hulu or Netflix. I mean, there's so much stuff there that I'm watching.
You watch cat videos on Hulu?
Not necessarily cat videos, but I do watch a lot of YouTube. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube. You'd be surprised. I mean, almost anything you were looking for on YouTube, cat videos, if that's your thing, videos.
No, there's a lot of
videos,
stuff. That's
tons
something
of stuff.
We're gonna have to talk about that one day. We're gonna have to talk about not Hulu rather, but YouTube and what's on there. People just think it's silliness, and there is plenty of silliness. But they're news shows. There's a wide range of content that people need to think about. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about cutting the cord, and I'm gonna tell you a couple of steps to consider when cutting the cord. Okay, so we talked about pretending. Yes, you're going to pretend. You're going to act like your cable or satellite box is not there. You're going to purchase. Oh, I don't know if you want to purchase. Maybe you could find someone with some old rabbit ear antennas, or you could buy an antenna. They're really cheap. They're only, they range from $10 to $50. And now they're nice and flat. I hadn't used an antenna in years.
And you can always return it if you don't like it.
Oh, yeah, I know. You're the king of return.
Hey, if you don't like something and they got a return policy, hey, return it.
I hear you. Well, you get that antenna, and what you'll find is, let me give you an example of what happened to me. I live about 30 some odd miles. I live in the suburbs, very far away from the city, about 30 miles away from my local stations. And with this little small flat antenna, I was able to get all of my channels crystal clear. And the quality, speaking of that, it's much better than cable or satellites. Uncompressed signal directly from the channel. So it's from the station. So you don't have some satellite provider or cable provider compressing the signal.
But what is on regular over-the-air broadcast? I mean, my cable went out a couple of months ago, and I was stuck. Luckily, I had an antenna in my house, and they were unable to get my cable on for a couple of days. So I was stuck watching over-the-air broadcast TV, and I'm flipping through the channels. I'm finding stuff like Love Boat and Gilligan's Island and Fantasy Island, and then there was a whole bunch of other shit, bunch of stuff that I would never watch. So I'm like, is there anything on over at TV besides local channels? And if you don't watch local channels, I mean, is it worth it?
You know, honestly, there's a lot of channels. You do have all your local stations, you know, CBS, NBC, ABC, CW, and so on. But you also have special channels, or you also have these sub-channels where if you have, let's say, channel 2, there might be a 2.1 or a 2-1, depends on how your television renders it. And so you have these sub-channels that have local content or might have any type of programming, might show old television shows, religious shows, all kind of random programming that maybe the average person wouldn't watch. But they also have special language channels as well. You'll find Chinese channels, Vietnamese channels. It also depends on the size of your city. If you live in a large area, you'll find different channels of a variety of different languages. So, you know, if you need that type of content, that's something that you don't necessarily get from cable. So, I mean, there is some stuff out there, but one other problem is, let's say you do watch regular television a lot. You're not always there at 7 o'clock to watch your shows. You know, you could get a DVR. There are DVRs for over-the-air content, but realistically, you know, you're not going to always be home. But there is something, I know you're not a cord cutter, but even though you do have DirecTV, there is something you're familiar with. Talk about Hulu a little bit. I know you're a Hulu veteran.
Well, yeah, I have Hulu, and I must say, Hulu's a good service. Only thing I don't like about it is you do have to watch some commercials every now and then, but it's the same if you were watching regular broadcast TV. So
they also have that higher level that you don't have to pay for. Right?
Yeah, I know there's the higher level, but I can't bring myself to pay.
I know it doesn't make sense.
$extra.
I just watch the commercials. Yeah, I don't want to pay extra $2 or $3. Doesn't make sense.
Just sit through the commercials. I mean, the one thing I wish Hulu would do is change up their commercials sometimes, because sometimes you're watching the same commercial
to memorize
again.
them. Yeah.
But back to Hulu service as a whole, it's a good service because most of the shows that you watch, they're on there, and they keep at least 5 episodes most time. You can go back at least 5 episodes of a show once it airs. Once the episode airs, it's usually there about 5 weeks. So you have about 5 weeks to catch your show, and then eventually it'll rotate that one out and put another episode up. And then I think later, once the full season's over with, the whole season becomes available. I'm not sure about that, but I think that's how it works. But usually almost everything you want to see on regular TV is there on Hulu for you to watch. So if you're not at home and can't catch it that night, you have an option to catch it there. And I also believe most stations now, like CBS, ABC, Fox, and NBC, they're starting to put out their own apps. And with their own apps, you can go back and watch episodes of shows and things that they've aired during the week. Speaking
of those apps, those work well. My wife, she uses the NBC app a lot. I've seen her watch that. It works really well. Now CBS is one, I think it's the only one where you actually have to pay. I think they want you to pay $10 a month, which is kind of crazy for their content. You're paying for something that you could watch ordinarily for free, but you're just not able to watch it at that time. So, I mean, keep an eye out for that. If you do watch a lot of television shows on CBS and you're looking to do that, you will have to pay that amount for that. But let's well, go ahead. You want to say something?
Well, yeah, I was gonna just switch over to, there's also Netflix out there, and I know a lot of people are familiar with Netflix. The movie selection is okay. I mean, they usually
okay at best. Yeah.
Yeah, okay at best. But they're a gem if you really like some TV shows, and they're not necessarily old TV shows. They got old and new TV shows, but it's very good because I used to be a person that watched a new TV show when it came out, and I'll get invested in it, and then after like the 5th or 6th episode, they canceled the show. So I'm like, you wasted all this time investing in this show, and then they cancel it on you. So what I like to do now is I wait till a show has 2 or 3 seasons before I start watching it. And Netflix is a great place so you can even binge watch a show, and then if you can binge watch it, you can watch a couple episodes, come back and watch it next week. So it's a good option also for people that like a lot of TV, because most of the shows they have on it are there.
Well, yeah, also now, with recently Hulu has begun making their own shows the last couple of years, and Netflix has their own content. So, they have shows you might hear about that you can't get anywhere else.
And also, if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, they also have their own video service, and they make their own content as well.
Yeah, the Amazon, that's right, has their own shows. So it's, you get a lot, you really get a lot of content with Amazon Prime, a lot of people don't know about their music service, about their Prime television service. And I mean, if you get Amazon Prime and if you look at the numbers, there are a lot of people out there who have that service. They really don't take advantage of the music service, which is similar to Apple Music and Google Play Music, where you can stream the services and it's included with your Prime membership. So that's something that more people need to take advantage of. And what you'll find is when you cut the cord, you will start to take advantage of all of these services.
And I mean, the great thing about all these services, most of them are basically they're $10 a month or less. So you can get all three services about $30 a month. And compared to your cable bill where you're paying at least $100 or more a month on top of the fees they charge. So you're getting a lot of content for a small price. And then I know Chris there's another service he's using, like I think it's Sling, the Sling app.
Yeah,
that also provides a lot of content.
Yeah, well, let me break it down a little bit for you. My DirecTV bill was about $120 a month. I had a fairly low package, not the lowest, but I don't know, it was an okay package. And even at $120 a month, I mean, and I'm paying now, let me break it down, $10 for Netflix or so. I had Netflix while I had cables, or satellite rather. Should I include that? I don't know. So $10 for that. I also have Sling service, which I'm going to get to in a minute. That's $20 a month. I got my own Hulu account. I used to look at Sam's, but now I have my own. So that's, another $9, $8?
Yeah.
How much is Hulu? $8, I think.
Right.
So, you're looking at, once again, $40 max for all of those services, and you don't really need to do that. So for $40 as opposed to $120 plus, that's 1/3 of the cost. So let me tell you about this Sling service. A lot of people do not know about this service, and I think if you would have known about it before you got DirecTV, you might not have.
Oh yeah, I might not have DirecTV today. So if I would have knew about Sling, it would have gave me more of an option to be able to switch. And you can tell us more. I mean, there's some options for sports and regular broadcast TV and news services. So, Chris, can you tell us a little more about the Sling app?
Once again, we'd like to take time to thank our listeners. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend it with us, listening to our podcast. So once again, thank you. Be sure to check out some more information on our website, techandpotatoes.com. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at techandpotatoes@gmail.com. Now let's get back to the show. Yeah, well, Sling, like you said, it is an app. It's on a variety of platforms. You have it on your iPhone. You can have it on Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV. It's on pretty much any streaming device out there. So what it does is it gives you a good selection of the basic cable channels. You'll have like the History Channel, CNN, even ESPN, all the basic satellite or cable channels that you may use on a daily basis. So it doesn't have everything. So like if some people like Bravo, for instance, it doesn't have Bravo, but it has a good selection. And you also can add channels. You can get HBO, you can get Showtime as well. You have to pay like $5 a month. But
wait, no Real Housewives?
No Real Housewives. Sorry. I know you're a big fan of that. But no, seriously though, there are a good variety of channels rather that you can get with that service. So that's definitely something to look into. And for only $20, that's not a bad price. But there is one caveat with Sling Television. You can only watch one stream at a time. So if I'm in one room watching it and my wife wants to go watch it on her phone or tablet or some other room, she can't. It'll kick her off. Or actually, she'll kick me off if she tries to watch it after me. So that is a problem. But for us, we are usually watching shows together, or if she's watching that, I'll be watching something else. But what's interesting, though, is I found that I really do not use the Sling app that much. It's amazing. Like I said with myself, I had to analyze my television viewing, and I don't watch that many cable channels. Occasionally, I'll watch CNN to watch some news or something like that, but I really find myself not using it, and we've both contemplated eliminating that. But it's only $20 a month, so it's total it's a fraction of what we were paying for DirecTV. So it's a really good deal.
Yeah, and I mean, how you mentioned, you really notice you really don't watch that much of the service. I mean, when you really break it down, when I was looking at my DirecTV bill. I mean, I might turn on DirecTV twice or 3 times a week, it seems, lately, because I've been watching more Netflix, and then my wife, she's been watching more Hulu, and then I've been watching a lot of YouTube. So I'm really paying for a lot of channels and I don't watch them. I mean, especially, and then if you look at the content that's on the cable providers, like you pay for HBO and Showtime and the movie channel and Stars, and when you really look at it, they're playing the same movies over and over and over again. And it's like I turn them on just to see if something's on, and I can almost never find anything I want to watch. So I'm like, why am I paying for this? And then on top of that, if you ever go down to the local channels that I think it's under 500 or under 200 on DirecTV. I know on Uverse, my Uverse, like on 100. There's a lot of channels there that you never, ever watch. So it's like you're paying for all these channels and you never watch them.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing to consider. It seems to be a common theme with our podcast here that we're always talking about saving money. But hey, there's nothing wrong with that. And let me talk a little bit. I want to get into what I did. You know, we're talking about cutting the cord, but there are some physical steps that you have to take. So I was talking about earlier about the antenna. So I purchased an antenna on Amazon, and I actually bought 3 antennas. So I played your game. I was going to return them if whichever one worked the best, I was going to keep. And the one that didn't work the best or didn't work very well, I was going to get rid of. So,
hey, if you don't like it, return it.
I hear you. But so I got the antenna, and I was able to hook it up, and I was getting all the channels. Now, you're going to play whack-a-mole with trying to get the antenna location. You're going to place it all over the wall. It's something flat. You can pin it up against the wall. You can't just sit in front of your TV nice and cute or put it behind your TV. You're probably going to have to put it somewhere up high. Some place is a little bit of an eyesore, but hey, it's free television. So I got the antenna working. I was all excited. I told my wife, I said, hey, we've got all the channels. So, everything was looking good, but there was one problem. The next morning, well, we live, there's a somewhat busy road outside of our house. And the next morning, it was kind of, I guess, rush hour for work. And so there was a pretty decent amount of traffic. Well, we found out that everything wasn't quite so good. On one of our channels, every so often when certain vehicles would come, I guess they would emit some type of interference. And the picture would go out, well, briefly or some even longer. So this was the problem. Yeah, I thought I had everything set up, but wasn't quite that way. So, I'll tell you in a little bit how I solved that problem.
Okay, Chris, I noticed you were talking about antenna setup and placement, but my question for you is, we've talked about how this could save you money, but can't buying antennas get a little pricey, and how do you pick the right antenna, and how do you know which one is best for your home? I know you said you're about 30 miles out from the local TV stations. I mean, how do you figure all that out to know what equipment you need to buy to get the best signal for your house?
Well, there's several online resources. There's a website called TV Fool, and there's another website called antennaweb.org. You can go to those websites, and what they'll do is they'll kind of give you an information on what you put in your zip code and your address, and it'll tell you what channels you should get in your location. It'll also give you the direction of your local station tower, so you can kind of gauge from that. Oh, and also it's interesting, they'll tell you, hey, you're X amount of miles away, you will need this type of antenna to get this channel. So it'll tell you whether you can use a simple indoor antenna or if you need an attic or an outside antenna. So there are online resources that you can look at to get some more information as to what type of antenna you will need. Now, you said it was pricey. Yes, they can be pricey. They range anywhere from $10 to $60 for the indoor, the flat antenna units. And if you want to get an outdoor antenna, those can go up to a couple of $100s. So definitely take a look at those resources and see what type of antenna you will need.
But so if it costs you, the setup cost can be a little pricey. In the long run, does it save you money? I mean, I guess you're saying that, well, I guess, yeah, you don't pay a cable bill or something every month. But if you're trying to get the best antenna, and about $200 or $300 to get the antenna, because maybe you live 50 miles outside the city. Is it still worth it to invest that amount of money in this antenna?
Definitely, because when you think about the price of DirecTV, I mean, you would have to, I don't even know what channels you could get to get your bill under $100. You can, but it's very hard. In fact, let me give you a quick funny story. When I was getting rid of DirecTV, I had been a customer for 12, 15 years. So I think it was actually 14 years to be technical. But they tried everything in the book to keep me. The lady told me she could get my bill down to $19 a month. And I asked, how are you able to do this? Oh, well, you'll lose DVR functionality. Yeah, she was gonna take away my DVR. Why do I need your service if I don't have this? And reduce my channels to the local channels. What's the point? So it's they were trying to do everything in the book to keep me, but they didn't, and I'm free. So I have no complaints.
Okay, so it might cost. So the setup cost can be a little pricey depending on where you live. But I guess some question: is it worth it going through an antenna process at all? If you can have internet, and you can have Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO Go, and all these other services, is it really necessary to even have an antenna at this time?
If you are a sports fan and you want to watch something live, if you didn't have antenna television, you got rid of your cable or satellite provider, how are you going to watch the Super Bowl? How are you going to watch the NASCAR, whatever you may be into? So you will need it if you're a sports fan, or if you want to watch regular TV and you want to see it live. I mean, some people don't want spoilers. They don't want to find out about what happened on show X before they view it. So you can watch it live when you have an antenna.
Okay, well, I know you brought up sports with the local channels. My question, okay, what if you want to see Monday Night Football? Do you have any options out there for Monday Night Football? Or see any of the other shows that come on, like ESPN and some of these other sports broadcasting networks that are not local?
Well, on my Sling television app, I can watch ESPN, so I will be able to watch Monday Night Football. There are a variety of sports channels. There's a sports pack you can get. In addition, you can get, I think, ESPNU. You can get...
what about the SEC network?
They do have the SEC network.
Oh, this is interesting now.
So, yeah, there are a couple of options out there. There are a couple of different packages. Like let's say you have kids and you need something basic. I think there's like Disney Channel, but there's a kids pack where you pay an extra $5 and they'll give you some more kids channels. So, depending on what variety or what segment of shows you want to watch, you just pay a little more if you need something beyond the initial offering that they give you for $20, which is pretty good.
Okay, so far you would say your experience with cutting the cord has been relatively good. I mean, is there any regrets? Is there anything you miss? Is there anything you're like right now you're like, yeah, I'm glad I'm saving all this money, but I really wish I could still get X, Y, or Z?
Well, I discuss that with my wife all the time, and one thing she's mentioned is she wishes that she could view like the NFL Network. I used to watch, I watch it occasionally. There were some shows I'd like to see on there. So I really have no way of getting the NFL Network. Like if I wanted to, I know this is kind of crazy, but if I want to watch the scouting combine, I can't see that. But, it's okay. I'll hear something about it on the news or look it up on the web. So, I mean, you adjust to what you have. So I just won't be able to watch something silly like the scouting combine, but at the same time I won't be paying $120 a month to watch television.
Well, I have a question. You mentioned NFL Network and everything, but you have an Xbox One, don't you?
Yes.
Isn't there an NFL app on there? Does it give you any access to any of that program you're missing?
I believe it does. I've looked at it. I'm not sure of exactly what content it offers, but I know it does have some of the shows and some of the programming from NFL Network. That is something I need to look into. I will let my wife know about that.
See, I mean, I guess the thing is, you need to really look and explore and see what's out there, because there might be options that work better for you versus sitting there paying $100+ a month for a service that you really don't use. I mean, if you take the time and look at exactly how many channels and how many programs you watch, you might notice that you usually watch the same channels over and over again, and usually the same programs over and over again. So you're really paying for a lot of stuff you're not using. I mean, just take time and look at it, and maybe your situation is one where cord cutting could be an option for you.
Yeah, now, but I forgot. We've got to talk about, remember I was telling you about my antenna experience? I set up my wall antenna. I was really excited. I think it was a Amazon Basics television antenna for $35, I believe. I was excited. I got all the channels, but that next morning, trucks and certain cars were, I guess it's a RF interference that would knock out the channel. Oh, also, this is funny, light switches. Yeah, light switches would, you turn the light off in the closet, or turn it on rather, in the bathroom. Random things would interfere with the television signal. So, I was really distraught at this point because I was excited initially, and it was such a big letdown that we had these problems. Now, this wasn't really a deal breaker, but, you don't want your picture going out. And so you don't want, someone coming in the room and turning on the light and your picture flashes or flickers and whatnot. So I decided it was time to take it to the next level. And I was going to get someone to install an outside antenna. And, I looked into it, and it was about $300 to $400 to have someone do it. But then I really thought about it. I said, maybe I can do this myself. And I'm not very handy at all. I can't even build a nightstand, but I decided to give it a try. But I wasn't going to go on the roof. I'm not doing the roof. So I discussed it with my wife, and she said, why don't you look into getting it mounted in the attic? And I said, okay, I can do that. So I bought one of the outdoor or indoor-outdoor antennas. I believe it was there's a Clearstream 2V, which is, you can get on eBay, believe it or not, pretty cheap, like $50 to $75. It's like $100 on Amazon. And I had to build this antenna, which was odd. It was a bunch of pieces. I had to put it together, and I got it set up. I hooked it in the attic, and I was able to get pretty much what I was getting with the flat antennas. I had it in the location. It was working okay, but I wasn't getting all the channels. And you'll find, like we talked about earlier with the whack-a-mole, you can't get everything perfectly. You get one channel up to the highest level that you like, the other channel suffers. So I had to do something about this. Wasn't satisfied. So I got a coupler. A coupler is something that you can combine two antenna streams. So I used one of my flat antennas that I had purchased that was just lying around, attached it to this coupler, and I used a preamp, which is something that boosts the signal, and I combine these two antennas, and in combination, I finally get a really great signal. The trucks can pass by all they want. No problems. No flickers. I can flick, you turn on the light, no stuttering, nothing. Mission accomplished.
That's a very interesting story there, Chris, but it sounded like you did a lot of things and a little complication in this whole process. So I'm wondering if everyday person can do this. I mean, you're talking about couplers and amplifiers and different things, putting it together in your attic. I mean, is this very complicated? Is it worth the time? I mean,
it definitely is worth the time. I looked at a YouTube video and saw a guy, he talked about doing it, but he did it to an outside antenna, and I decided, hey, I can do this. And what I did was, I had DirecTV, like I mentioned earlier, and DirecTV, was running their lines to all the televisions in each room. So I said, I'm going to take advantage of these lines. They're already there. So I got a splitter. You can buy an antenna coax splitter on Amazon for like $40. And I used this splitter, and I ran the antenna, plugged the antenna into the preamp, and I spread the signal out to all the rooms. So now I have great antenna service to all of my rooms. I can remove all the wall antennas from each room. So now it looks fine. It doesn't have the wall antenna hanging there, kind of a little bit of an eyesore, even though they try to make it where it blends into the wall. They have them white and black and different colors and whatnot. But it's really not hard. You just got to watch one of those videos. There's tutorials on the internet. I mean, I'm not handy at all. I mean, I'm pretty good with computers and technology, but I can't build anything. But this was a simple task that really long term will save hundreds of dollars a year. So it was definitely well worth it.
Well, it sounds like a very interesting story there, Chris. I mean, you seem like you finally got your TV situation like you wanted, and you're able to save some money. I know there's probably a lot of people out there still with a lot of questions. So if you have any questions about maybe cutting the cord, you can email us at techandpotatoes@gmail.com if you have any questions that we might can help you with. And if you want to know any of those videos that are out there, I mean, you can just do a Google search on YouTube, or a YouTube search rather, for cutting the cord and using antennas to help get the TV service you're looking for.
Yeah, and just email us, and I'll be happy to provide any of those links, answer any questions. It was really an easy process. It is not very difficult at all. So especially if you had, DirecTV, or even if you had a cable provider, you can use those existing wires and use that infrastructure to send out great antenna service to each of your respective televisions. So it's definitely worth the time and a little bit of an upfront cost.
But the upfront cost can save you a lot of money at the end of the day. So it's something everybody should consider, especially if you're not a big TV person. If you even are a big TV person, there's probably options out there for you that can help you save money.
Yeah, definitely. And, one thing we forgot to mention, I know we want to wrap this up, but one thing is you're going to need a streaming box. And there's a variety of streaming boxes out there, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV. There's a variety of them out there, and you'll have to decide which one. NVIDIA Shield, which is a great one. We both own that. It's not just for gamers. It's a really good streaming device. We're definitely going to do a podcast on those, talk about each one. We've played with all of them. Between us, we pretty much have them all. So we can talk about that and give you the benefits. They're all pretty much the same, honestly. There are just some minor differences between them. But, those minor differences can mean a lot. So anyway, we're glad to answer any questions. Just remember, email us at techandpotatoes@gmail.com. You guys have a good one and take care.